Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Solutions. We are talking about order and how to help our children take ownership of this beautiful soul trait of order and avoiding the extremes that we all tend to lean to. And of course, the extremes in the topic of order would be total chaos, right? And the other side is total rigidity. Both of those create damage, and we're going to unpack that. So before we start, as with anything, we need to define our terms so that we're in the same place. So order is defined as everything in its proper place. And spiritually, there is a definition for that as well, which is inner alignment. The opposite of that is chaos, disorder, and confusion. And we can experience that in our mind, in our soul, and in our environment. And they do tend to manifest in all three ways, no matter what it is. Okay, so order implies a sense of harmony and balance, where everything is in its place and functions as it should. Do you? I didn't. I had to study this out to really get clarity on the difference between order and organization. Because isn't there a tendency to kind of merge them together and think of them the same way? There isn't, beloved. There is a big difference between organization and order. Let me explain what I mean. Whereas, as I said, order is a sense of harmony and balance where everything is functioning as it should. Organization arranges things systematically in order to achieve a specific goal. So I want you to think about when you go driving, right? You get in your car, you have a destination, and you turn on the GPS. The GPS is going to give you directions in a specific order. If you were to follow those directions in any random order, you would not reach your goal. You would not reach your destination. Order is critical to reaching your destination, whereas organization is about the coordinates, right? When we get back to this GPS illustration, um, organization of coordinates on a map is a particular pattern and grouping. We have streets, we have miles, we have, uh, you know, points that help us understand that when I make a left turn here and travel 1 mile, that I can be assured that based on organization, when I follow the order, I will get where I'm going. So I hope that kind of gives you a general distinction about the difference between organization, which is grouping things together systematically, and order, meaning A before B, B before C, and C before D, right? Okay, so how do we explain these concepts to our children? Order, I like to think of order for a child as thinking and doing for a particular outcome of what, why, and when, right? We think about and do things in such a way that we know what, why, and when. Whereas chaos, well, it's not thinking or doing things in such a way that we know what, why, and when. In Musar, the character traits are about finding the middle way. Too little order gives birth to chaos, while at the other end, too much order ties us up in obsessive rigidity. Seek the moderate way. But here's the beautiful point, the beautiful spiritual point. Creating order on your desk, in your car, with your clothes, your financial papers, your tools, your kitchen utensils. Beloved, that is spiritual work. That is spiritual work. Let's explore God's word. When I looked up the word order in scripture, it's the word door. It occurs 148 in 148 verses, whereas Chaos, tohu, occurs, slightly different definitions, as confusion 3 times. For example, when God throws Edom into a state of confusion, chaos, that's a judgment. Also, tohu occurs as formless and empty twice. And we see this example as when the earth, under judgment, is formless and empty in Genesis 1, verse 2. So the question is, right, when we see how God views order and chaos, how can you parent? How can we parent in such a way that we help our children develop this beautiful trait of order, the ability to do things in an orderly way with inner alignment in terms of clarity of the what, why, and when, without going to an extreme of obsessive rigidity? As always, I like to give visuals. The visual here, and again, this is for the sake of the children, is a puzzle piece. And yes, I see in the comments balance. That is key. Order sounds more mental and organization sounds more physical. Okay, yeah, such great things to consider, right? How about for the sake of explaining all this to a child, I like the idea of a puzzle, the puzzle pieces. So when we grab a puzzle, a box with puzzle pieces, there's a picture, there's an outcome we're looking for, and we dump out all the pieces. Well, that's the chaos. When we want to create organization, we also need order. Meaning, what do we look for first? Drop it in the chat. When you do a puzzle, what's the first pieces you're looking for? It's the corner pieces, right? It's the edges and the corner pieces. There is an order. We are thinking of organization and order. So first thing we do is find the corner pieces and the edges, and then we group together those random inner pieces by maybe color or shape or the textures we see, something we recognize, and we begin to group those things together, and then we can click them together. So there is organization and there is order, and it begins in the mind, right? I have to think, what am I looking for? How do I create order? How do I get my outcome, which is I want to put this puzzle together. Okay, I hope that makes sense, and I hope that that's something that you feel you can translate nicely to your child. All right, now we're going to go to the video vault, where I have a collection of 1-minute videos on different topics. And I'm going to share the sound. Here we go. Hopefully you can see this. Okay, so when we're looking at the principle of order, the spiritual soul trait of order, there are three areas among many that can be a place to kind of explore. In that 1 minute video, we look at boundaries, honor, and priorities. The video went kind of fast, and we're going to unpack that. But let me ask you to drop in the chat or to consider if you're watching this later on. Boundaries, honor, and priorities. Which one of these might be an area that needs some attention, that needs some extra prayer for Hashem to reveal to you how to tweak and strengthen? Let's dive in to a presentation, a quick presentation on these issues to help you kind of understand more about this topic. So I'm going to share my screen once again. Okay, so we're talking about creating order and avoiding chaos, finding our path to the middle way. For those of you who might not know me, my name is Lola Luvis. I'm a parenting and life coach, columnist, blogger, homeschool advocate, wife and mother to 4 amazing humans, and just became a Savta grandma to 1. The 3 issues we're going to look at are boundaries, the struggle to say no to self and others. We're going to look at honor, the struggle to consider our effect on others. And then finally, priorities, the struggle to focus on the outcome. Okay, now I love this visual. Because it visibly expounds on the concept, the struggle to say no to self and others. The problem, I guess, let me ask you this. Have you ever bought something for your kids and realized you already have it? Or bought it and don't use it? Or got it, brought it home, enjoyed it, and then really couldn't find a place to keep it because everything you already have so much? There's a Musar principle here that is just so deep and filled with wisdom. The principle is that black space, and when you look at this image, this picture, you can see that there's a lot of black space. That black space brings attention to the white space. It sort of outlines it and holds it. In marketing, they bring attention. Marketing brings attention to what we don't have. It brings attention to our black space, the thing that is lacking, that we feel is lacking. And beloved, there's never an end to what we feel is lacking. That lack brings attention to the thing they want to sell you. The thing they want to provide for you is the white space. It's the thing. And we are it is a powerful principle how when we feel like that black space, like there is something we are lacking, we want to fill the void. And that can often create a problem of bringing too much into our home, whether it's a thing, a mindset, a commitment. All of our limited resources begin to be stretched. The problem is that one thing leaks into the next, creating a domino effect. It takes more energy to create separation and order when things have merged together than it does to keep things separated within boundaries. What's the solution here? I want you to think of this visual of the gym circuit. Now, if you've ever been in a gym, you know that when you walk in, you have a goal. You have an outcome you want. And when you look around the room, you see spaces with dedicated items that serve a particular purpose. It's very clear. And then you move on to the next thing. So there are strategic things in strategic places with a strategic purpose. That's order, that's organization. Now, those things are in a particular order. You see the stretching area, you see the warm up bicycle and such, and then you move on to the next thing. But you have freedom. You have freedom of choice to decide, well, I want to use that one particular item with one particular purpose, knowing the outcome it will provide you. This is the thing about creating boundaries, right? It's not confusing and stressful. You walk into the gym, you look around, and you have freedom of choice, and you know exactly where to go to do what to get that particular outcome. Okay, let's look now at honor. Honor is the struggle to consider our effect on others. How does this apply to order? How many times have you ever stepped on a toy that wasn't put away, or broken a thing that was in the way, or fixated on organizing to the detriment of your relationships within the home? The problem is, whether it's one extreme or the other, it creates damage. We are often not thinking about how our time, words, actions, and choices affect other people. We are, with every decision we make, with everything we leave out or do or buy or choice, we are affecting other people. It's inevitable. And we frequently might not realize that something that seems so innocuous is having an effect one way or another on other people. What's the solution? Well, for the sake of children, I love this idea of wheels on a car. You see, the thing about wheels is they just, they're not doing anything really exciting. It's sort of mundane. When you consider all the parts on a car, the tires are just sort of like not doing much. And yet, if one tire goes flat, if one tire doesn't do its thing, it is going to stop that car dead in its tracks. All plans are off the table. It is the little things, it's the little things we do that really affect the whole. If it fails to do its job, if we fail to do the little things like picking up something, putting things in the right order, or avoiding obsessing on rigidity, right? Rigid order, we don't realize how it's affecting the whole, just like tires in a car. Children can learn to assign tasks to we can give our children assigned tasks to help them realize, to help them see how their words, actions, and choices are affecting others. All right, our last principle here, we're looking at priorities, the struggle to focus on the outcome. Have you ever carelessly tossed things in a bin, shoved things in a corner, or swinging the other way, hyper focus on the minutia in a day? The problem is we're so busy and so overwhelmed that we're taking on too much, and it sends confusing messages to the kids about what our priorities and values are, right? Because we're kind of just doing things in the moment, or we're so hyper focused on something that too can send the wrong message about our values and priorities to our children. Without intentionality, a million micro decisions we make in a day are not training a child's brain to understand the character of Adonai. And that is our ultimate job as parents. And little do we know that the little tiny random decisions that we're making in a day are training the brain and sending a message. But the question is, beloved, is it sending the message about God's character? that we want it to. What's the solution here? Plug and play routines. I love plug and play routines because it's hard to make decisions, wise decisions in the moment when we're overwhelmed and dealing with a lot in life. But when we can sit down, and I know so many of us in this community are really great about creating systems and plug and play routines. But when we when we think about our child's brain, it becomes that much more important that we have predictable, organized order that we work on day after day after day, because they set us up for success in other areas. And this is important for children to realize as they move into maturity. Of course, when they're immature, when they're 2, 3, 4, 5 years old, these are advanced principles. But that is no excuse to not begin to train the brain, because their brains will eventually catch up. Their maturity will eventually catch up to the understanding. And I love this quote by Stephen Covey: the key is not to prioritize what's on your schedule, but to schedule your priorities. So in conclusion, we're talking about finding the middle way of order between rigidity and chaos. We can declutter, create spaces and purpose and times within our home. Think of the gym circuit. We can help our kids realize their words, actions, and choices affect others. Think of the tires on the car. Mundane activities, but boy, when they're not done, it affects everybody and everything. It's a matter of honor. And then finally, create a plug and play routine with built-in priorities and order, because every decision, every little micro decision we make in a day is sending a message to a child's brain about what our values are, what our priorities are, and the character and nature of Adonai. If you struggle with these things, I have created little resources to help. Routines and Time Management for Kids is a 1-hour program explaining all of these things with plug and play routines. We talk about creating a path to success and how to get kids excited so they feel that they're a part of this decision-making process, how to together create a life you love, how to plan for the unexpected, right? We don't want rigidity. And then finally, how to take the next step. Where do you go from there? I think that is where we're going to stop. And let's see. Does anybody have any questions about any of the things we have spoken about so far? We're talking about finding balance, avoiding extremes. Do you see how these extremes are affecting us, you as a parent? It's not your fault. We've been groomed by society, by marketing, by our history, and it's hard to create change when that's all you know. Or it's your personality, your character, maybe your role, your job. All of these things play into why we do what we do. But how to become more conscientious about landing where we want to land and setting a model for our children. So I'm looking for questions. We have a few minutes to just unpack this. Have you ever thought, let me ask you this, have you ever thought about the difference between organization and order? And how does that difference impact the way you think about it? Any thoughts? Frequently, let me just say this while you're thinking. Frequently, we are trying our best to be organized, right? And we know all the reasons why being organized is helpful. But I have seen this as a parenting coach. Many people struggle with organization. So that's the bigger challenge. But even those who are organized can find that their children are bored. They've bought all the things. They have everything their child could possibly need or want, and yet they find their children bored. Anyone here homeschooling? If you're homeschooling, you probably will experience this if you have not already. Go ahead, Ruth. I see your hand is up. If you're muted and if you want to chat, just unmute yourself. Oh, okay. Okay. Just raising your hand. I see. Yeah, boredom. Okay. This is an issue of order. You may be saying, how could you be bored? You have everything. We have we have this. I'll put you to work, right? If that's a common response. If you're bored, I'll give you something, I'll give you a job to do. Here's the thing is that think about in the school setting. Children spend all day, day after day after day, we're talking about public school setting, in the same room. You don't hear them talking about being bored. Why is that? Because there is two things happening that creates beautiful balance. There are different activities that happen in different places with brand new environments, right? So maybe a little cubby area is it looks different. It affects the five senses. So it creates like a new experience. We want to stimulate the five senses because that creates a vibe, a mindset, and it's exciting when you know exactly what you can do in this area. But we don't get to stay there for very long. That creates a desire, right? When we know our time is limited in an area, we don't get bored in it. We're kind of like we want to stretch out the minutes because we know the clock is ticking, right? FOMO, fear of missing out. And then we have to move to a different area. So different things. This is why I talk about the gym circuit. We could use the school model as an example here too. Different expectations, different opportunities, different vibe and energy and feel, and it's a limited amount of time. And then we move into a different area. And this becomes something to be expected. It's a pattern of predictability. Children, the brain loves patterns of predictability. So we need that balance of newness and change, and yet patterns of predictability. So set timers. Yes, exactly. I love this idea, right? A timer in an area for learning stations. And when the timer goes off, they move. Beautiful, right? How long for each time? It depends on the age of the child, right? Younger children have shorter attention spans. And the trick is the little secret sauce is that we want to make sure that we have to move on to a new activity before a child has a chance to get bored in the one we're in. Now, there is an underlying great additional value here, which is children often struggle with transitions. They struggle to give up or stop doing something when it's time to move on. And that is a mental muscle. Even as adults, we struggle. I know I can spend way too much time at my computer, and I know I should get up and move outside or do something different, and yet I don't want to stop what I'm doing. So this is a mental muscle that is really not on the radar for many people, for many families. But just like any muscle, without practice, it won't get strong. And if we could teach our children, get them acclimated and comfortable and used to stopping one activity because it's time to move on to something else, wouldn't that just be healthy? Wouldn't that just create a life that we could create if we all knew how to not spend too much time doing any one thing, being able to move on. I think this is, again, when we're coming back to soul traits, developing balance in our soul, in our character traits, creates life and peace and joy. So, yeah, when it comes to hard to say no, it's hard to say no, right? Talking about boundaries. I'm just scrolling up and looking at some of the comments. Ruth, it is hard to say no. And that black space and white space is a powerful, powerful principle. And marketing knows how to use it. There is no end to our lacking, right? We don't like there's a world of options. We don't have everything. We're not supposed to have everything. But when marketers can tap into that lacking, that creates the black space that highlights the thing. So that's a springboard for reflection within the soul as adults. Now, I'm not talking about the children because there's so much for them to already learn, but for we as parents to do some introspection, some reflection on where is balance in terms of being aware of my lacking, the things I don't have, and being okay with that. That takes away a lot of power when there's a struggle with saying no. We want to see our children happy, right? We want to give them all the things that are good and make them happy and keep them entertained and busy and a rich, full life. But doesn't Adonai deny us some things that we want? And maybe those things aren't even bad. Maybe the answer is no. Maybe the answer is just not now. And we really want them and they're really good. There are other character traits being developed in that waiting time. No, being able to say no to self and others is great wisdom and serves multiple purposes as long as we do it in love and we know our reasons. Does that resonate? Does that resonate with you? Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, we're here about the kids. We're talking about the children, helping them develop their soul trait of order, avoiding chaos. Many children don't even understand how their chaos, disorder, disorganization has an effect on anybody else. Do you notice this? Is this something that you have ever made that connection for them? Connect the dots for them to see how leaving something out affects everybody? Honor? That leaving things out is a matter of honor? That it's like a tire on the car. If it's not doing its job, it affects the way the whole car moves. If our children go into the bathroom and leave lights on, toilet paper on the toys on the ground, dirty clothes on the ground, don't flush the toilet, leave water all over, that this is a matter of honor. Do we need to define honor here? Going back to a prior teaching, if you haven't watched the teaching on honor, I encourage you to do so. Honor is treating people better than you think they deserve. Right? So when our kids leave the light on and leave the room messy or leave their toys on the ground, they are dishonoring the family. Dishonoring the family. And do they want to, right? We don't want to shame our children. We don't want to shame our children into honoring and boundaries and order and all of these beautiful soul traits. We want to ask them. Asking a child a question is a powerful way of creating internal desire. Rather than telling a child, you need to, you should, why didn't you? Those are all shame, especially in the tone, those are all shame words. How about the question, do you want to make me feel good? Do you want to honor me? Are you looking for a way to let me know you're thinking of me? When you turn off the light in the bathroom and I can walk in there and the bathroom is ready for me, if you flush the toilet, if you pick up your clothes, that is an amazing way for you to tell me that you think about me, that you care about me. And I'm doing the same for you. Yeah, let's do this together. Exactly, Caitlin. It's all team. That's why I love the visual of the tires on the car. We affect each other. Even doing the mundane things, the tire is just going round and round. If that tire could only talk, right? If that tire could only speak. It doesn't have all the flashy glitz of all the other parts of a nice car. And yet, how much power does that tire have? It goes flat, falls off the rim, loses its tread. Little things have big impact. And that's a biblical principle, right? It's the small, lowly, insignificant things that God is looking at. And he cares about the details. And he is a God of order and organization. Order meaning in a particular way. We can't get where we want to go in any random order. Hashem deals with the inside, right? Inside and then the outside. That's an order. It has really helped encourage my kids to do something kind on their own eventually, especially when they know it means a lot to myself and my husband. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When they do it on their own, when it's their own initiative, right? But the question might be, what can I do to help prompt my child to do things on their own initiative? That's challenging. Questions, questions. When you left that toy out, did you mean to create danger? Did you mean to make it dangerous to walk across the floor? Of course they didn't. Of course they didn't. But they're not even thinking about the danger that leaving something out causes. Oh boy, the conversations can be had, meaning rather than saying, pick up your toy, where could you put that where it wouldn't be dangerous, where it wouldn't make somebody maybe get hurt? There are small conversations, but point being, we're looking to connect the dots between an action, a word, a behavior, and the outcome, and the value, and the character trait, the soul trait, and the nature of God, like Russian dolls. You know how Russian dolls, what do? They stack one inside the other. All things, when they stack, produce a beautiful outcome of calm and peace and joy and simplicity. Anybody else looking for more calm, peace, joy, simplicity? This is how it happens. Yeah, this is how it happens. So, okay, so we looked at boundaries. We have a few more minutes left. We looked at boundaries, we looked at honor, and we looked at priorities. And how that ties in, you wouldn't think so, but how they all tie in to order. And how we can easily be in a state of chaos or a state of rigidity. Both ends cause damage. Rigidity tends to cause the most damage in relationship. Chaos, I believe, causes the most damage in terms of exhaustion and overwhelm, burnout, and an inability to be intentional. Those are the two extremes. So when you look at your quiz, right, where do you see the highest number? Maybe, I think somebody said it was the same on both sides, right? No names, no name calling, no calling anybody out. But so do you have a question? Chaos reduces your ability to be intentional, right? So true, so true. And none of us are exempt. None of us are exempt on any given day from leaning too heavily in one side or the other. And how do we know when we're walking in balance? Right? When we feel peace and calm and intentionality. So do you have any questions about, let me ask you this, let me challenge you with this because you're all so quiet. Action step. What can you do today? Jen, do you have a question you want to ask?
I actually do. So should I, and I don't know if you mentioned this in the first few minutes, but should I stay away from reward charts then? Like, say the morning routine, my one son keeps forgetting to put his toothbrush away and the toothpaste. And I was so tired of saying it. And so I was like, okay, we're going to do the sticker chart. If you get 10 stickers, then, you know, whatever, you can, I don't know, get a piece of candy or whatever. We tried a lot of different things. But now I'm thinking about, because it's like the character, maybe more of the question. I don't know. It really didn't work. And so I'm like, maybe I wasn't consistent enough, or maybe that's not really a good approach for teaching healthy habits, you know?
I love the question. I love the question. Should I give rewards? Should I do a reward chart? A lot of people are confused by the purpose of rewards. So rewards is a strong motivator. Let me say that first of all. Second of all, rewards look different to different children. We can often think we are giving them a worthy reward that is not their worthy reward. Know thyself and know thy child. What's really a reward for them? And you can easily test that out to discover, because if the reward is right, they're going to be motivated. Okay, that's powerful tip number 2 on rewards. Number 3, do we really want to send a message that in order to get your child to do something, they should be looking for a reward? What am I going to get for this? Because no, we don't. We don't want to send that message. So it's really important to answer your question directly. Rewards serve a purpose. Be using the right reward. If the reward is not motivating behavior, it's the wrong reward. And most importantly about rewards only serve to prime the pump of behavior until the inner character is strengthened. What I'm saying is, ultimately, we're looking to raise our children to become people of character who want to do the right thing for the right reason and find reward and satisfaction in having done the right thing for the right reason. But they're immature. and their internal character is weak. And in order to prime the pump until they develop the thing we're looking for, it's perfectly okay to offer a reward, but they need to know that this is a temporary um, motivator until they can do the thing, and we can use that reward on something else, right? So it's a tool. A reward is a tool. Um, does that make sense? I feel like I need to work on all three boundaries on our priority. Yeah. So I hope that makes sense. Um, if reward isn't working, like with the leaving the toothbrush and the toothpaste out, maybe you have to kind of hide the toothbrush. Like if he's willing to brush his teeth, but the problem is he leaves everything out, maybe put it in an inconvenient place where he knows he has to go and brush his teeth. He wants to go and brush his teeth, but now it's annoying that he can't find it. He can come to the conclusion that, gee, I really want to put this somewhere where I can find it because this is taking away from my story time. This is taking away from something I love. A carrot, right? Everything is a carrot right now until inner character is developed. Hope that makes sense. If you have a follow-up question, please ask. Oh no, it's 1 o'clock. Okay, so listen, if you have a question, a follow-up, you think of something later, don't hesitate to reach out. I am here for you. All right. I'll see you next month we're talking about the topic of gratitude. Such a lovely character trait, such a lovely soul trait, so absolutely necessary to have a good life. The soul trait of gratitude. I'll see you next month.